Welcome to the SkirtWork Podcast. And we're back with SkirtWork. Welcome, Manda Millie.
And welcome, Lisa Johnson.
How are we going today?
Well, very well. I thought what we might do, because at the moment we're slap bang in the middle of the games of the 33rd Olympiad in Paris, France, and Summer Games. So as people can see that look at the video, Lisa and I are in tip-top physical condition.
I am absolutely one of those people who sit on the couch eating chocolate biscuits, watching a sport that I know nothing about, going, oh, you wrecked that one.
Yes, that's right. So the reason we thought we would have a bit of a chat about this today is because even though we're skirt work and women in work, sport is work.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I love about the Olympic Games, and people think, oh, is it all a bit twee and they're not as interested. What I love is that week to week, and I'm not denigrating anybody that enjoys their version of football, but it's just footy. And what I like about the Olympic Games is I get to see sport I don't normally see really. So I grew up, played a bit of hockey growing up, so you see lots of hockey, which is a fabulous game. And for me, the Olympics start when the athletics start, so marathons and all sorts, and not just the track work, but the marathons and what. So I really love it. But the equestrian, can I say, the equestrian is being competed at the Palace of Versailles, and that is in the backdrop. And one of our colleagues is a mad equestrian and a great, very, very knowledgeable, of course. And I had to ask her, and I said, look, from a layperson's perspective, this is visually so utterly magnificent with the palace in the background and the gardens. And she said yes. And I said the course looks, the cross country is just mind-blowing for just a punter like me watching. And she said, oh, yes, it's very, very good. So I've just loved all of that, and still upset they dropped softball. Anyway, that's a discussion for another day. But anyway, that's why I love it. So there's always drama, but nevertheless, I really enjoy seeing. I mean, of course, we're a mad swimming nation here in Australia. And of course, here in Australia, they actually televise the swimming trials to get into the Olympic Games, to be selected to get into the Olympic Games live. So, and that was a bit controversial this year because it was so very, very tough. I would also like to see, from personal perspective, all the athletics trials, but obviously I know it's a bums on seats thing and not quite as much. I did laugh at a particular tweet from an account called Tina's Hairdressing of Stedford, which I thought was hilarious, but did actually have, on a much more serious note, someone tweeted, an American tweeted, why Australians are so good at swimming. And Tina from Hairdressing of Stedford replied, because we have swimming lessons, not active shooter drills. That's all I'll say on that subject. It was very amusing. But also, as Lisa and I were discussing, these marvellous female athletes, because that's what we obviously at SkirtWork's female side of things, have won all Australians gold medals so far to date.
And New Zealand.
And New Zealand, I didn't know that. Well, there you are. So we've won a swag in the pool, which they really are fabulously world class. And also a fabulous woman, Grace Brown, who won the time trial in cycling. That's another one I really like. I do love the Tour de France, and they've got the Femmes, which is the female Tour de France, will be on after the Olympics. So Grace Brown won the time trial. How on earth they stayed upright on those bikes? It just looked like black ice. It was pouring rain. They were on cobblestones. Oh, my word. And there's only a very thin layer of lycra between them and the cobblestones, Lisa.
Mm.
And the other woman, of course, is superstar Jessica Fox, who has won in canoeing and kayaking. She's had so far 2 gold medals, and her mother was a bronze medal at the Atlanta Games in '96.
And I believe her father's also an Olympic.
He may well be.
I think he might be an Olympian as well, and his younger sister
They're going to
team.
compete against each other, apparently. So fabulous. And so we were talking about sport is work. Now, I'm going to say anyone that is selected, irrespective of the sport, we all get so caught up in gold medals, whatever. Oh, and a segue. New York Times, I'm looking at you. You do not do a medal tally on the number of medals. You do a medal tally on gold medals. So wake up to yourselves. I don't care if that's the way you've always done it. I'm telling you, New York Times, it's wrong. You can do better. So you will probably certainly beat the Australians in your gold medal tally, particularly when the athletics kick off, and I'm all for it. But really, guys, come on. So yes, it's based on gold medals. But look, as we were saying, we obviously look at the people on the podium and the national. That's all fabulous. But anyone that does get selected is just unbelievably good. So, I know Australia's better in some sports than others, but we've all seen, somebody even going from the local soccer team or football team, little athletics, or all the way through to be selected for the country. I mean, you've got to be pretty bloody good.
Yeah.
And devote a lot of hours. I did hear there's a Wallaby rugby union player here in Australia called Phil Kearns, and his daughter, Matilda or Tilly, she is in the Stingers, which is the women's water polo team. And they're fabulous. And my word, those women are strong. And she wanted to do this when she was a teenager. And I heard an interview with him the other day, and he said, well, okay, I said to her, because it's 4:15 starts in the morning, and that's just for water polo. And he said, all right, that's fine. But he said, I'm not waking you up. If you want to do it, you wake me up and I'll drive you. He said, unfortunately, she woke up every single morning. He was up at 4:15. So I thought that was a really good lesson. Really, if you really want to do it, you've got to wake me up. I'm not waking you up. So that's what you want to do. But just and they do sacrifice, because we always hear about the big money sports, and sure, there's a few of those around, but not really for some of the sports you and I don't get to see. Well, only every 4 years, which we would prefer, and the sacrifices. So it's a bit like, you turning up to hone your craft, Lisa, in shared services, shall we say, since you were 15 to the age, say 25 to 30, but you've probably earned about $10.50 the whole time.
Yeah. So I've got a good example of that. And talking of water polo, and this is about the United States women's water polo team. This year, they're actually being sponsored by a rapper. So an American rapper is sponsoring them because one of the team members did I think it would have been an Instagram, it could have been on TikTok. It was a social media post anyway, where she said, I don't think people realise that we have to have second and third jobs to afford to do the sport and to travel. And we need sponsorship to cover our accommodation and our
particularly
flights.
The travelling if you're going around the United States.
But even
bad enough in Australia.
Even to the Olympics. For their flights and so forth. And you just go, wow. Like, they're not doing it for money.
No.
They're doing it for the love of the sport. And you think about the fact, I watched this really good documentary, well, I thought it was good, on Netflix called Sprint.
I saw that. Fabulous.
It was really good. And you think about Sha'Carri, I've forgotten, is it Richardson?
Sha'Carri Richardson.
And the amount of work she puts in. The amount of work, the training every single day for hours.
I read that Usain Bolt said, because I don't think athletics the track will ever be the same without, he was poetry in motion. But he said, you see me come out here and, he does it in about, 2 seconds. The next thing, it's all over. But the hours and hours and hours, and I really enjoyed the Jamaicans.
Yeah, I did too.
I think that I've always got a keen eye on the Jamaicans. Elaine Thompson is the sprint queen, and so Sha'Carri, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing haven't seen that. But, I mean, she's a pocket rocket. There's no doubt about it. And, look, it's all show. But also, beside that, you think, oh, look, they're all very flashy. But the thing is that attracts attention, and then it attracts sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
And given how much work they have to put in just to be selected, you can't just do it for money. Now, that is a nice byproduct, but it's not what has motivated them from day one.
You just look at the disparity, though. You think about and if I was using the USA as an example, basketballers and American football players get paid, and yep, they're just playing their game. And particularly for the American football, it's not a global sport. It's very much a local to.
It's exactly.
I mean, they do have pockets. I think we've got gridiron teams here in Australia, but
what we call gridiron, because there's about 9 different types of football.
So we've got it here, but it's not a serious sport in Australia. I'm sorry I said that. I hope I've not offended anybody.
Well, it's a sport, but it's not the high profile, put
exactly,
it that way, that we have in this country. Yeah.
So you're getting players in America being paid millions of dollars, and they're nowhere near working as hard as what these athletes are.
Because that's where the big dollars are in all their broadcasts.
Who are travelling around, excuse me, and they're doing the competitive circuit, and they're just playing to be, they're competing to be the best. They're not competing for money. There's no dollars at the end of it for them, and they're amazing.
Well, also, it's the pride of being wrapped in your flag. I mean, without sounding overtly nationalistic, but I mean, when I have to say, in Australia we have our flag, which essentially is red, white and blue, but our teams compete in green and gold, which is, for people that aren't aware, it's the colour of the wattle, which is a national flower of Australia, and it is green and gold. And honestly, they are fabulous colours because you can see them a mile off. A little bit similar, a little bit green and gold there today, Lisa, I'd have to say. But you really, particularly the swimmers with their gold-coloured caps, made famous by Shane Gould, fabulous woman, 1972 Munich Olympics, did everything when she was 15. But these fabulous yellow caps and you see, no matter what the sport, I think we had the walking on last night in the background when we were having dinner, and you saw the Australian competitor. She came third, actually. She got bronze medal. Congratulations, Jemima. But you could see the green and gold a mile off. And it's, well, I don't know, I get a little surge of pride when I see that green and gold.
I think that's the whole point
of
the
Olympics. And I do have
Olympics.
to say that the Kiwi uniforms are fabulous.
They always are. We're lucky with black and white.
They really are.
Very
the design
lucky.
of them are fantastic.
Very lucky with
fabulous.
Black and white. But I remember as the first Olympics that I can remember, 1976, which is older than most people alive
Montreal.
now. And Nadia Comaneci.
Yes, these wonderful. Look, isn't it interesting too? You don't see as many Eastern Bloc as it was, the gymnasts, and obviously Simone Biles, as we're recording this, won her individual gold medal last night, Australian time. My word, if there were, I think they're going to have to put the Oxford Dictionary, pocket rocket Simone Biles, 4'8".
She's
just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Amazing.
Yeah, and Nadia Comaneci and Olga Korbut was the one that I remember. And in fact, she did the Korbut flip, I think it was called, look it up, on the parallel bars, and they banned it after that because it was just so risky and so difficult, sort of this backward flip off the top, hearts in your mouth. What I also like, Lisa, is that they all look so much more muscly than they used to, that they look healthier. They look very robust. They're tiny, tiny women. I mean, feel like girls, tiny, but they have a musculature when you compare them to some of the earlier that they look strong. And of course they are. To do that is just mind-blowing. But once again, they always talk about, the family members that have taken them to training, and we get to see a snippet of them in a lot of cases every 4 years. And, I mean, I marvel at all of them. I mean, I did marvel at the triathletes swimming in the Seine.
They may be marvelling at a toilet bowl.
I really do hope that they're all okay. But the backdrop of the whole thing was fantastic. But, the Seine, God, really? But anyway, Sydney Harbour seemed to be fine for them. when they all talk off here. But, you do look for the colours of your country. I mean, once again, you were talking about the knockout, the Kiwis uniforms, but also the Netherlands are just that fantastic orange.
They're lucky, aren't they?
Fabulous.
They're
and also
beautiful.
they're all, I mean, everybody's stunning. I mean, these all very fit young men and women. But, so the work and as I said, I've probably never sacrificed anything. I mean, when I've worked, I've been paid. It's all about being paid correctly, being looked after, duty of care in the workplace. Never really had to turn up, and pretty much I get paid to do my job, and that's great. But to put the effort into what these people do, these women do in their working life, and then, of course, they get a bit, a medal to wear around their neck. It's just quite remarkable. And I have to say, all of them, the pride when they're standing there for their country, I hope in their heart of hearts they feel it's all worth it. I'm sure it is. But I'm sure it was interesting. I was only in radio the other day. Kate Campbell is a very decorated Australian swimmer. She did not get selected for these games. She missed out. And, there was tears all around, but she's doing a bit of commentating. And I heard her on the radio the other day being interviewed. I mean, this is the other thing. Boy, they get good media training. They articulate and insightful. And, once upon a time, what maybe some of the our younger listeners, men would just call all women sport. And then when there were a few women starting to call some of the men's sport, it was the end of the world. There were female commentators. It's all going to pot. And now, of course, you would never have women's sport without having a female. Right. And normally, someone like a Kate Campbell, anyway, I should segue, but she was saying that she's got a couple of long holidays planned. I think she's 29 or 30 years old, and she said, well, I'm unemployed. Now, thankfully, the person she was speaking to said, we might have to do something about that, because they were getting very good feedback and her insights. But it was quite interesting.
I was just going to say very quickly that in these Olympics, we have had an English commentator sent home for a sexist comment about the Australian women's.
We did, that's right. And
swimming team. So there's
I'm not going to say his name. He'd be about my age. And I think what I find galling about this is, you're making too much of it, it's a joke. Well, who's laughing? The comment was made, we had the, correct me if I'm wrong, it was the 4x100 metre relay women. They won the 4x200 last night. Was it 200 or 400? But anyway, they won, or maybe that was the medley. Anyway, they won another medley. So they're standing on the dais and they're getting their photographs taken, and then I didn't hear the comment, and I've heard the audio, which was essentially, they're still there. The women are still there on the dais, and what women are like, doing their makeup and stuff. Now, the reason that is just, look, I don't think I'm even offended. I think I'm just sick and tired of it, frankly. I'm just tired.
100%.
Because then he said, well, it was just a joke and I didn't mean it. Well, who's laughing? Everyone says it's always a joke. Really? What you've said in that comment is completely debasing the 100 million hours they've spent going up and down looking at a black line in a pool. I mean, they're all gorgeous. Of course they are. They're fit, healthy, athletic young people. You wouldn't find a dud amongst any of them, just what and having to just in one line, really? It was just a joke. Well, have you always, don't commentate on it. If you can't say something, you don't have to go and say they're the greatest of all time either. Maybe they are. But really, come on, guys. Anyway, so as I said, very unusually, I actually sent a text into a radio program and I got it read out. Ooh. I did. I just said, come on, I am this guy's age and sick and tired of these throwaway lines. It is just demeaning, and it's always in air quotes meant as a joke. Well, who's laughing?
On that note, we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, I want to talk about respect for women in sport.
Thank you, Lisa. I think that's excellent.
P2P, you will have a tailored consultant that has an expert knowledge in a particular industry.
We have great technology in place. We have a really great relationships with lots of different clients and a lot of candidates in the market. We have specialist consultants within the team.
Internationally recognised, so there is an opportunity to collaborate with many different branches. But from a proactive perspective, we are able to answer clients' needs.
I'm really proud of what we stand for and how we operate. We always operate with integrity, professionalism, and we really pride ourselves on providing the best service to our client.
Now, I'm going to segue away from the Olympics for a moment because I want to talk about women's sport, and it will come back to what we're talking about with the Olympics. I watched another documentary on the Netflix, and this one was called America's Sweethearts.
Yes, I've heard of it. I haven't read the cheerleaders.
The cheerleaders.
Yes, I haven't read it yet.
I went in it fully preparing myself to go, I'm just going to sit there and go, oh my God, these girls are so witless and hopeless. Completely changed my view of it. Now, I still don't get it, like from imagine aspiring to running onto a football field and kicking your legs around, but that's just my personal, that's not something I aspire to.
But it's huge.
But the competitiveness to get into this, they can only do it for 5 years and then they're retired. They work a full-time job or part-time jobs. The training is usually done in the evenings. It's incredibly, incredibly competitive. And yes, some of it is about their looks, right? So some of it, they have to have a look that fits in within their team.
Well, it's like the Rockettes in Radio City Musical. I think your legs have to be the same length.
So there has to be a certain physicality about it. But really, it's about their athletic skills, their dance skills, their gymnastics training, their ability to exude a personality. And it all sounds really trite and really silly. But they get paid to do this less than what somebody gets on the checkout at McDonald's in America.
And that's low.
And that's not very much.
The minimum wage.
So they're not doing this for money, a bit like American sports stars. Sorry, the Olympians. It's very athletic. They're very driven. There's a lot of practice. There's a lot of competitiveness for it. And at the end of 5 years, they're just freed. And there was an interesting... there was a young woman in the series who was facing her 5 years, like this is the last year she can do it, and this genuine fear of who am I without this?
How old are they when they start? Is there a minimum age?
I think they have quite a broad range of ages from late teens through to the late 20s. There's quite a broad range in there. They're very supportive of each other, which is another thing that you don't think happens in women's sport, because we live with all these tropes about, well, if there's a successful woman, she's a complete bitch. And these young women are not bitches. They're genuinely devastated if someone's injured. They're genuinely devastated if someone doesn't make the team or bows out or finishes or whatever. There is a sisterhood to it. And they carry it on afterwards because, you will always be a Texas cheerleader. And they'll spend the rest of their lives.
This is the Dallas Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboy, Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, which are the most famous ones in the world. So they work hard. They're very passionate about what they do. They're very athletic, and they're so objectified by their male audience and by the male players and all of it. They do it, like I said, for the love, not for the money. And it's in the disparity between the football players, again, who are run around for 40 minutes or however long a game is, and then run off.
Well, it's hours, but yes, that's right.
But they're all padded up. And,
we're not going to get into that.
I'd like to see them play the All Blacks.
Yes.
But these women go on, and but it's the respect for I came away thinking, look, I 100% respect for them. Do I aspire to be a cheerleader? Well, clearly I'm not in the demographic. But I fully respect these young women who commit to it. And then, so the same thing for our sports people, for our sports women. They are very much committed to their sports. There's very little financial support for them. Yep, we cheer them on for the Olympics, and we take, we reflect their pride when they win and everything. I agree with what you say. When there's commentary around their looks, around their physicality, around, like, you feel that they have to behave in a certain way. And when you're talking about commentators, because we have now in Australia for NRL football, we have a number of women commentators, and they're really, really good. And they're smart, and they're intelligent, and they're articulate, and they're up there.
I think you mean the AFL.
No,
mean
the NRL.
I have.
Yep,
Well, I don't
there is some of those.
There we go.
And they can be up there with complete buffoons who have had a number of clearly brain injuries from too many knocks to the head. And these women can be so abused by the audience, by, men who follow the game, and even from their peers. And it's like, well, you can't be a legitimate sports caster on this because you don't have a penis.
But the other side of it too is the argument always was, well, they've never played the sport. Well, let me tell you, there's a lot of commentators that have never played the sport.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and myself included on the couch at home, judging.
Yeah.
Judging. Yeah, that's right. They haven't played the sport, or they haven't played it competitively for a long time. I think one thing that we do here in Australia, and it happens in New Zealand as well, that perhaps doesn't happen so much in America, is that we always have ongoing respect for our stars. So, you can just say the name Ian Thorpe and you know who he is. And Dawn,
I think Americans have had so many of them, frankly. I think maybe
Dawn Fraser.
Yeah. Some people do rise above.
Yeah, and they become, and some of them do. And mate, look at Yana Pitt. She's had 1,200 children. Well, not quite that many, but she's had a few. Yana Pittman, sorry.
Yeah.
And she's a doctor.
Yeah, she has. Amazing. Yeah, she's now practicing as a medical doctor. But also there's been, like anything, when people are in the public eye, there can be a backlash for different reasons. Now, obviously, Simone Biles pulled out of the Tokyo Olympics 3 years ago because they were delayed because of COVID, and enormous backlash. And, of course, as we all know, with social media, it just gets, just out of control. But the mental fortitude to come back from, she had something called the twisties, and I had to look it up. And that is where I'm going to be corrected, but I think it's where you don't really know where your body is, because they're doing all these, I can't even elaborate, about 25 feet off the ground, elaborate twists and turns. And I think they have a sense of a lack of their spatial awareness and that sort of thing, which they absolutely need. And, of course, that would then give you they call it the yips in golf. You then lose that confidence. But to get back and do it again, and then they don't give those gold medals away. They're not going to just say, we'll just give it to Simone Biles because she's really come back and she's done really well.
I read this article in the ABC, and it was from someone who watched the Simone Biles documentary, which I haven't watched, and they were talking about how after Tokyo she took a break for her mental health, which was excellent,
and that was part of this twisties,
and during that time she got married, and and then she decided, right, it's time
to an NFL player oh God, and look at her wedding photos. I mean, she's absolutely divine.
And then
huge.
She decided, I better start training, and apparently in this video it's sort of a bit half-hearted. And then about a year ago, she thought, I better get serious. And this commentator, this person who wrote the article, said in 12 months, she went from, I haven't done anything for 2 years, to, bam, winning gold medals.
No,
she's just a natural. She's naturally that good.
Yeah. I mean, I look at the mental toughness of these young men and women, of course. It just is astonishing. And no wonder they got, psychologists lined up, because it's when they stop. So Shane Gould, absolutely one of my idols. I met her once. I was just almost lost for words. Fabulous Australian athlete, won 3 gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze in the 1972 Munich Olympics. She was 15 or 16 years old, and then she retired. That was it. And she said when she finished, that was it. Okay, see you later. You know, the door shut, hit you on the way out. Whereas these days, she said, obviously, they've got the psychologists that are in there to sort of, you're up there just to bring you down because well, we've talked about people retiring and then going back to work. Well, they don't go back to competitive swimming. People have tried, or competitive sport. It never really quite, I mean, Ian Thorpe gave it a burl, that it didn't quite work out. So, it's a very, you've got to make the most in a very short period of time. And then hopefully, we were just talking in our break about Anna Meares. Now, another one of my sporting idols, the most wonderful Australian cyclist. Oh, my word. Just phenomenal. Could have been paralysed from a shocking crash, came back and won medals. She's the chef de mission for the Australian team in Paris. Could you find me a better communicator? I mean, the woman is fantastic. She's just bang, bang, bang. So when she was interviewed about that business with the English commentator that was sent home, lost his accreditation. And, whenever anyone's interviewing, you want a little bit of a sound bite and something that can, go a little bit viral. No, she said, no, right decision, was completely inappropriate. Right decision was made, and then moved on to the next subject. I thought, that's it. That's all that needs to be said. Hand wringing. No, absolutely. And she's just a fabulous I mean, she's a woman now. Oh, I don't know. I suppose if would she be 40? Maybe she's not 40 yet. But to go from that cycling, then she's had a family, and now she's gone into sports administration. And not everybody can make that leap, or sports commentating. But she's really a cracker. And I've no doubt she does a lot of after dinner speaking, professional speaker. She's just terrific, and a lot of those people do. But the fact that she's been able to segue from that into her new career. So let's just dial back to beach volleyball for a moment.
Oh, yes.
So I will also kick back a little bit further. I started following the Norwegian handball team a few years ago because they created a ruckus when they said, we are not wearing the bikini pants. I mean, I have them in G-strings, yeah? They're so bloody small. Anyway. And they said, we're not doing it. So they wore bike shorts. Shock horror. And they really, the sports administration over there, because handball is massive in those Nordic countries, and it sort of kind of looks like water polo without the water. And they wore these bike shorts because they did not want to, they felt objectified. They felt self-conscious. And that's the last thing you want to feel if you're out there. Now, I know the Australian women do in the beach volleyball wear these tiny little things. Anyway, they did that, and there was a huge ruckus, and there was a, hashtag I stand with the Norwegian handball team. And so once again, I was reading, and I'm sorry I can't remember the country. Netherlands? Maybe the Netherlands. Anyway, a couple of the women competing in the beach volleyball, and I have to say, the venue, once again, right in front of the Eiffel Tower, looks absolutely sensational. Wore black leggings.
Good for them.
That's what I thought. And I kept saying to my husband as well, I said, surely that has got to be more comfortable. And I'm all for, people have their choice. The Australians, my goodness me, if there be a square inch of fabric, but look, they feel comfortable in that, and that's fine. But the backlash there was a lot of male commentary online, the fact that they were wearing leggings. Unbelievable.
I would just like to understand how wearing a tiny lycra top and teeny tiny pants improves your volleyball skills.
Well, maybe I have no idea. I know it's
guarantee
it's bloody hot over there at the moment, very humid. But look, I'm not a sports person. I'm sure they'll say, man, you've got no idea what you're talking about, and you'll be exactly right. I'm just saying that the backlash when they don't wear that is really interesting.
Well, I doubt that they train in
the blokes wear shorts, for heaven's sake.
Exactly. Somehow they can play it. Do you know what? I saw, and I don't know if it was on Instagram this morning, but it was a copy or a picture of a post from one of the women's rugby players for the USA, and the USA did very well.
Yes, they got a
bronze medal.
I know the one you're talking about.
I think they actually beat Australia, so Australia
I
missed
think,
out on
we
the medal.
We missed out on a medal, sadly.
So there's a woman in the American football team, and she's very tall and she's broad, and she had obviously been copping a lot of social media heat from men about how big she was. And so she responded with, yes, I'm tall and my BMI is 30, but guess what? I'm going to the Olympics and you're not.
Yeah, I did. And I think that then has gone a bit viral, and no doubt there'll be a 1,000 talk show hosts wanting to talk to her, and also the fact she's got a medal as well. I did see that. And then also about women being supportive of others. So, of course, being an Australian, we're watching Jessica Fox and just the oh, my word, the skill and the strength in these rapids. Anyhow, I don't understand any of it. All I know is it's really hard. And so when you get the top time, the cyclists do the same. You've got to sit in order of where you are, and then you've got to wait for somebody to come down the course, and then sometimes you get pooted out or you stay, depending on their time, of course. And, of course, she had to wait to see. So they had her, and they all know each other. It's quite evident. They all know each other, and they were so excited for each other sitting there while they were waiting for the last woman to come down. Now, the last woman to come down had qualified fastest or best, had the best score, or the lowest score at the time. And it all fell apart. And she was devastated, and they were absolutely devastated for her. The three of them sat there and thinking, not, she's been, they were devastated for her. And now, obviously, then when that was over, and then obviously it morphed in, they realised that were in their positions, and that wasn't going to change, and they won their gold, silver and bronze medals, and obviously all very excited. But it wasn't manufactured, it wasn't confected, it was quite genuine. And I'm not saying that just only happens in women's sport, don't get me wrong, but and when these people know, I noticed at the end of the triathlon, oh goodness me, they were I think the men were more exhausted than the women. I mean, it just looked so tough, but they were all helping each other at the end. They would all know each other extremely well, and maybe they all might be in different. Well, it's a bit like the cyclists; they're actually from different countries in the same team, but just at the Olympics, obviously they've got their country colours on. And so that was really nice to see. Now, obviously, you're there for the sport and the competition. And the New Zealand guy in the men's triathlon got run down in the last 20 minutes. It was just extraordinary. And the French woman won the women's, and it was just terrific. I mean, she didn't even look like she didn't even need to blow out a candle. I mean, she was just amazing. But they were all spent, and the way they all went around, it's like the marathon runners. I think when you just do that kind of sport, and I think also you're really racing against yourself in a lot of cases. So, of course, you want to or improve your time. So I saw one person, I think it was a young woman, and she might have come in the top 10, and, she was raising her arms because she may have done a PB, top 10. I mean, it's an extraordinary achievement. And I think sometimes we'll just get so caught up on seeing what the medal tally is, and they've all got a story. They've all got families behind them. It's not just the superstars in our world of the swimming. That obviously that's the headlines in Australia this week because they've done well, and it's a big focus. And it'll be a little quieter when the athletics kicks off next week, I can assure you. but nevertheless, I just find that very exciting to watch. The human condition.
When we started watching we watched the rowing heats because there were both going to be Australia and Kiwis in the heats. And there were people rowing for both the men's and the women's teams from landlocked countries. And you just cheered them on. Yeah. They're never going to place. Like, they just don't have the facilities that we have available to us in countries with rivers. It was just amazing. I just think just their experience of going there must be amazing. And on that note, Manda, it's time for us to wrap up today.
Oh, okay. Well, we've got plenty to talk about, and we've got another topical conversation next week that we'll have a chat about as well. So they're a little bit different from what we've been doing, but sort of we're segueing into different areas of work. So
exactly.
See you then.
See ya.
Bye. And, of course, if you would like to listen to the SkirtWork podcast, you can find us anywhere where you get your podcasts. And you can also watch us on YouTube, heaven forbid. Lisa and I would much prefer this to be audio, but no, we're being videoed as well. So please subscribe, send us a comment. We would love to hear from you.